to just drive around town, and that works nifty. So when we go to Boulder, okay, she's getting in Boulder, we're back to the price list. We flip through and find Boulder. We find out they want digital coverage. And they find out that they want film coverage. And we go to those two because our digital price is cheaper than the film. So, okay, we go down and we can quote them a 4-hour average, a 4-hour price on their wedding and tell them what they get. And there's no hidden costs, it's all up front. And this is why we have 2 different price lists, is to make, or 3 or 4 actually, to make it simple. We have everything built into them. If we're going to Denver, or they want us to come to Aspen and Vail, we have a price list that's built in, because if we go to Aspen Vail, we're staying overnight in a hotel. So we have that built in plus the meals and everything. But it's still one price with no add-ons. We have friends that are photographers all over Colorado, and price lists confuse Aaron and I. And Aaron's been with me 6 years, and I've been doing it 30 years. You read their price list and it's like, holy smokes, this is complicated. We have one person we know that will come out for so much per hour and photograph your wedding. And they're going to give you a free album, okay? But if you keep reading, you find out that for every roll of film they shoot, it's either $25 or $35 for each roll of film they shoot. So how many rolls of film are they going to shoot at your wedding? You don't know. That's an up in the air number. And I always think, well, if my car insurance is due, it just rolled in the lake, remember? So my car insurance is going to go up. I'm going to shoot an extra 3-4 rolls at this wedding at $25 a piece. So that's an extra $100 in my pocket just for shooting extra shots of film at the wedding. And I don't think people like that. And then they're going to go ahead and give you your free album. But you have to buy photographs through the photographer. So then most photographers up here charge $35 to $75 for an 8x10 reprint to go in your album. And we're going to get into all this in the price list. But I don't like the uncertainty of figuring out how much are we going to spend at our wedding. Well, it depends on how many photos we buy, and it depends on how much film he shoots. So we have a price list with one base price on it, but we have several price lists to take care of mileage and stuff. When people call, I've been to seminars and they tell you to control the sale. And we don't like to do that. Aaron and I are pretty laid back. In a sales talk, we've had other people tell us you want to control the conversation. Well, Aaron and I don't agree with that. We come in and we're laid back, and we couldn't use high pressure if we needed to sell somebody. I wouldn't buy from somebody that's trying to high pressure me into buying right now, or the price is going up, or the day's gone, or something. So we're pretty laid back when we talk to the people on the phone. We don't pressure them at all. And every phone call is different. Sometimes they'll jump right in, and they might be in Denver looking at our web page, and they might give us a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or a Discovery card over the telephone after talking to us for 15 minutes. They've seen our web page. They've talked to us in person. Other people want to come to us and see where we live and where we work, and it's kind of a hands-on deal. So look at our cameras and stuff, and then they'll book. Some people don't book with us because we're too high. Locally, we're kind of high, but for the out-of-towners for Denver and stuff, we're kind of low. So it's hard to figure out where to be on the price list. We talk to them about the location, where they're getting married. Oh, you're getting married, say at the lodge behind me, the white one with the red roof there. We could say, oh, you're working with Amy. Amy is great. We do a lot of weddings up there with Amy, and she is a great coordinator. And we can go on and we can tell them, are you getting married on the lawn then? We usually ask them on our lead sheet, we're filling all this out. So you're getting married on the lawn. That's beautiful. Oh, that's such a great location. And how many guests you going to have? And they're going to say, oh, we're going to have 100. Okay, so from 100 guests, we write down 100 people at the wedding. And Aaron and I know that the music room up there holds 80 people. So we say to them on the phone, I'll bet your reception is in the McGregor room. They say, yeah, how'd you know that? I say, oh, we do weddings up there all the time. We know the lighting. We know all the rooms at the hotel. We know the wait staff and everybody. We get along great with everyone at the hotel. So, or the lodge or the church, wherever this is. You know, it doesn't have to be a lodge. It can be a church. It can be in the national park. We do weddings. There's a place here called YMCA of the Rockies that has a ranch atmosphere, and we go out there and do weddings in 2 different churches or chapels, and also they have an outdoor chapel, and sometimes we just go out like we are here and do weddings. So you need to know these locations and know the name of the wedding coordinator and these people. We also explain to them that, you know what, if we're photographing you on the lawn, afterwards we can go over at the gazebo and get some great photos. And you know, out back they have that beautiful waterfall, and we can put you down on the bridge below the waterfall. We're talking on the phone now, and we're making points. We can photograph you on the bridge, kissing each other, you and your husband-to-be, or at this time they would be married. And we find out their names also real quick on the lead sheet. So it's Fred and Ginger, okay? So we can photograph you with Fred out on the bridge. And then you know what we do? We put you up on top of the waterfall. There's stairs right there, and they're not in our photos. We can shoot from down below and get a photo of you on the waterfall. Then we can go up on the stairs and shoot the other way and have you on top of the waterfall where the water is just cascading down out of sight, and the lodge is behind you. And then what we can do is put you in, they have a nice little carport area where they drive in, where people park in the parking lot, and they walk through, and it's architecturally, it's very pretty with the shape and everything. We can put them in the archway and photograph both ways. We can go down the steps, photograph towards the parking lot, can't see the cars because we're down on the steps a ways. And then we can go up by the cars and photograph back towards the hotel again, or lodge, or church, or wherever you happen to be at. So you need to know these locations. So what I suggest that you folks do that are just breaking into photography as an amateur or hobbyist is go around to the photographers. Get some price lists on weddings. It's kind of difficult. It's tough to walk in and say, hi, I want to compete with you. Can I have a price list? So sometimes you have to call them and have them send them to you. And if you call, you want to say something like, I have a friend or I have a daughter that's getting married, and don't give them a specific date like August 7th, because they might look and say, whoop, we're all filled up in August. 7th is gone, so they're not going to send you a price list. You might want to walk in or call them and say that my daughter's getting married, or my sister, or something of this type, and it's going to be sometime in February. I'll use June or July. Could you get us a price list and your web page address? And that way you can see what your competition or competitors are doing. I don't like to call them competition. I think they're more as competitors with each other, with the bride and grooms. But by keeping the people on the phone as long as they want to talk, we have an 800 number. So if they call on our 800 number, we don't know it. It could be a local call. On your 800 number, you can get a special ring that tells you it's an 800 number. And I didn't want to put that on there. So the phone just has one ring. So when we answer the phone, we don't know if Aaron and I are paying for it or they're paying for it. And we just want to talk to them as long as they want to stay on the phone. We help them with other things. We can send them to ministers, florists, limo people, different lodges, places for rehearsal dinners. And this is all on our web page, and we have a card catalog with everyone, so we can give them the cards also, and not give them the cards, but give them the information over the phone. One thing that we always ask that's very important, and this is in big black type on our lead sheet, is, where'd you hear about us? Because that is so important. We want to know where you heard about Steve and Aaron, Cathcart Photography. The reason is we're not in the yellow pages. We have one ad that we put out, and it is in the hotel behind me. It's on the back page of their brochure, and it's very expensive. And we do that mainly to stay in good with the lodge and stuff. But as far as that ad generating much income for us, I don't seriously think it does. I'm sure it pays for itself, but We rely totally on referrals from ministers, florists, everyone in the wedding field, the lodges, and we're going to get into that also later. Our first contact with the bride or the bride's mother is usually a phone call. And what we do is we don't write our information down on a piece of scratch paper or something. We have these pre-printed wedding lead sheets, and we have them printed on yellow, so we'll know that it's a wedding lead sheet and it's important and we don't want to lose it among our other white paperwork. So the first thing we do is we greet them and we're happy and upbeat and they're getting married. We find out the wedding date. We find out the time roughly if we can, the location of the service, the location of the reception. And then we check it on the calendar. And when we're open, we come back and we're all excited. Yes, we can help you out there. We're in good shape. So then we want to go to the price list for the location. If it's out of town, remember we don't charge mileage, but we have another price list for out of town coverage, and we'll get into that. So we jot the bride's name down and the groom's name, and then we go ahead and just talk to them. And we don't try and lead the conversation. We'll let them lead it, or we'll ask questions if we need to as we go through. So we go on down and we find out what time their wedding's going to be, and we fill that in here. So the ceremony's at a certain place in a certain town with a time, and we fill that in. And have you seen our web page? Yes or no. Will the bride and groom see each other before the service? Yes or no. And then this just kind of helps us figure out how much time we're going to need. Number of groomsmen, bridesmaids, ushers, candle lighters, ring bearers, and flower girls. And that all helps us on the timesheet. We're going to get to that in just a second. And here's something that we find very important. Where did you hear about us? The referral. Because, as you know, we're not advertising hardly at all. So we want to find out where they heard about us. And if we go ahead and we have a session where they want to come in and talk to us and view our photographs here at our home location, we fill out the talk and sell date right here in the time, so we'll know that. And as we talk to them, they'll mention maybe that a certain reverend's doing their wedding, so we fill this in. And they're having catering by someone, we fill that in. And we talk about the wedding, of course, and everything. And down here we make notes. And what I do here, it's quoted coverage and costs. So I always make a Q, I don't know why. If we're starting to talk about a 4, 5, and 6 hour wedding, I'll make a Q and write 4, 5, and 6 hours that we quoted them those times. And film or digital, I'll write in behind them, film or digital. So later on we'll know what we quoted them because we can look in our price book. And then we go down here and after we figure out how much time they want, we can fill this information in. And I'll show you the timesheet in a minute here. But we write in here, photographer will meet the bride at Romantic River Song at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. to start the wedding coverage. And where you do more than one wedding a day, this is very, very important. And this is on our contract also. Photographers must leave at 4 p.m. even if the wedding starts late. So that way we can make sure that we have time to get to the other weddings that we book on the same day. Then we go down here. If they want to book, we're all set. Well, let me back up just a minute. When we're talking to them about this stuff, right here, we have all the information we want to hit. So as we speak to them, we say, have you seen our website? Yes or no? And we mark that up there. And then we can give them the web address. It's right here. Do you have our 800 number? And it's right there. And then as we go on, sometimes the conversation will just kind of drift here and there. I want to make sure that we hit all these points right here. So I tell them that we include all the negatives in a CD and written copyright release, and I can go in and I can check that off as I speak to them and tell them that about that situation, and we know I've spoke to them about that. And then random acts of kindness where we helped a bunch of brides, we can check that off. And be sure and pull up our web page and see our award-winning photographs. Check that off. Tell them that Aaron and I have had, we've been in Estes Park for 10 years, and I've been in wedding photography over 30, and Aaron's been in it over 6 years. And then we can tell them they can see our photos of Aaron and I on the web page. And this is real important also. Tell them if they're looking for a florist, a minister, whatever, to click on our resource link. So they can go to the resource page and find any services in the Estes area that we totally approve of. So right here what we do is we go ahead and put the number of hours down if they want to book us. We book a lot of them right over the phone without actually seeing the bride and groom or meeting with them on the first call. So we'll put in here they want 3 hours coverage and no minutes there, no half an hour or anything. So it might be from noon to 3 o'clock, so we write that in there. Then we go over here and we fill this out off our price list, which we'll get into. If they want colored photographs, we put the price down, we write film behind it if we're shooting on film or digital. If they want additional black and white photos on film, there's an additional charge. The total charges for service go here, we add the tax, we bring down total amount due, and then on acceptance of this agreement right here, we put 50% down, and we round that off and we have it all figured out already. So we put down here and we write above this line, we write paid and put the day's date, and then we put by credit card or by check number so-and-so on the correct day. The last line is the remaining balance, and it's due 14 days before the wedding. If overtime is agreed upon, and we have this on our contract, we write in the amount of overtime per 30 minutes, and we have a 30-minute minimum on overtime. So this kind of completes this form. Now there is another form that we work with also in conjunction with this, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Now what we're showing you, of course, on the left is our yellow wedding lead sheet. On the right is the form that works at the same time with it, because we want to figure out how much time the bride and groom need you at the wedding, and sometimes they don't know. So we'll go in here and we'll say, okay, we're going to start photos of the bride when she's doing her final touches before the wedding, and we're going to start that at 9 o'clock. That's going to take 30 minutes. That'd be mom fixing her hair and netting and everything. And then we're going to spend 30 minutes with the groom. That'd take us to 10 o'clock. The groom and his folks and the best men or whatever they happen to want there, the photographs that they want ahead of time. Sometimes they'll want the groom with all the bridesmaids ahead of time. Sometimes not, they'll do it afterwards. So it's whatever you work out with them. And then we're going to have 15 minutes before the wedding where we go down and we photograph the girls giving out the programs if they have that, the ushers doing their work, grandparents being seated, and we're ready for the wedding. And then let's say the wedding's at, well, I'm just going to say 10:30 here. So the wedding's at 10:30 and we know it's going to be a half an hour wedding, so the wedding would get over at 11. And what we want to do is include enough time there if the bride and groom are going to have formal photographs where their wedding was at after the wedding. We have to have probably 15 minutes to get 100 people out of the church or off the lawn or wherever it is so we can go back and do our formals. And what we'll do at that time is we'll take pictures, of course, of the candid photos, everything that's going on at that time. If the bride and groom have 100 guests and they're going to have a reception line, that's going to take a lot longer. Of course, you'll find this out ahead of time before you do the wedding. So we're going to have time for the guests to leave. Let's say that takes us to 11:30. We're just talking. We want to go back and do formals from 11:30 to noon. We usually get those knocked out in about 30 minutes or less. And if one of the guests want to help us and we have a shoot list, we'll have a guest from the groom's side and one from the bride's side. Go ahead and take charge of this list. So when we're photographing one group, they can be lining up the next group, so it makes it go real fast. So that would take us to noon, I think is where we were at. I kind of lost track there. And then at noon, if we want to do some Colorado classics, that's going to take us to 12:30, and that's the bride and groom where we're out photographing just the two of them or the wedding party, whatever they want, with the mountains in the background or whatever scenic photograph they want. And then at 12:30, if that's their sit down and they're having a brunch or something, we know that a sit down or a buffet is going to take about an hour. So that takes us to 1:30. And what we're going to do while they're eating is we're going to do the table shots, photos of the cake, the DJ, the band, anything special, the gift table, toasts or whatever they have. And then after they get done eating, I think that would be 1:30. We're going to probably spend a half an hour photographing the cake cutting and the first dance and all that. Let's see, what else would there be? There'd be the cake cutting, and we always ask them if they're going to be good about that. Any toasts that come after that, taking the garter off and tossing it to the gentlemen, the flower toss to the ladies, first dances, and anything special that comes up. So That might take us, let's say, we're just going to say 2 o'clock here. So we're looking, and we've proved to them if this is the amount of photos they want, they're going to have to start at 9 o'clock and end at 2 o'clock. So they're looking at 5 hours coverage. And when you put it down on the paper like this, they understand how much coverage they need. And if they want to, they can shave time off by cutting photos in the first part of the wedding, before the wedding. Maybe we'll start the photos when the wedding starts if they want to save money, or you can leave early. So it's up to them, but this way you can justify if they want all the photos where they're at on that. But you can see how these two forms interact with each other. And Aaron and I, when we call it a talk and sell on the phone or in person, we don't try and control the conversation. But we know we can fill this out and justify the time wanted. We know we're going to hit these spots, these important messages when we talk to them on the phone, and we're going to get all the information here we need so we can explain everything to them. If they want us to mail something hard copy, we go up here and Aaron will send them a price list and all our information. He can put info pack sent, circle yes, and put the date. And we go in here and the date called or emailed. If they called, we'll scratch out emailed and put today's date in there, the date they called. So we have all this information for a follow-up call and to send our price list and everything out. So these two forms really work well together. And like I said, we don't try and control the conversation. Some people you can't do that with to begin with, but we just let it go with the flow this way, and it seems to work quite well. To book weddings, it's a number deal. Some people you think you're high, some people think you're low, some like your style, some don't, some think this or that, So we just put our best foot forward and try and talk to as many people as we can to book as many weddings as we do. We probably book 50 to 60% of the people we talk to, and I think that's pretty good. Most people, when they call us, have already seen our web page, and they love it. They love our photographs, because on our web page we have everything, all types of photography that we do. We have black and white, we have color, we have formals, we have photojournalistic or candid photography, as it used to be called. So they can see all the different styles. So somewhere in there, they're going to hit upon something they like. The bride and groom may want all photojournalistic style photography. We can do that. If they want a lot of posed pictures, we can do that. And we let them know that they're the boss. We're there to serve them. We're not going to put our spin on their wedding. So that helps a lot. It kind of relieves them, because they may have been to their sister's wedding or a friend's wedding where the photographer was grouchy and he was telling them, okay, we got to do this now, and we got 5 minutes to do it, and then we have to do this. And we tell them we go with the flow. You need to be user-friendly to these fine folks. If the groom gets there and he forgot his shoes and we're trying to do full-length photos, we tell him, don't worry. We're going to get those photos after the wedding. We don't want to put any more stress on their wedding day than what they already have. And that you can, when you're talking to them in person, you can see them nodding their head and kind of going, yeah, they don't want to be told what to do on their wedding day. I think it's important on your web page to have a domain name. Ours is the 3 W's, and then we spell out cathcartphoto.com. And I think that's a little better than having a Hotmail address or some other address, a free address. It just sets you apart and makes you look more professional. And another thing, I'm off the subject a little bit, but what Aaron and I do when we supply photos to all the lodges and everybody for ads, we'll go in and photograph them free, whatever they want, the rooms, and we give them wedding albums and photographs to show their wedding off and their property. And the only thing we ask from them is that we get the photo credit under there. And we get it in 8-point, I believe it's 8-point, when they print it out. The printer knows what that is, 8-point, that means the size of the print on each photograph. And what we do, instead of saying Cathcart photo, because if these people are from Fort Collins or Denver, and they're looking at this album and it says Cathcart photo, they don't know we might live in Greeley. So what we do is we use our web address. We have the 3 W's, cathcartphoto.com. Still tells them who we are. We're Steve and Aaron. We're Cathcart Photo, or Photography. And they know where to find us. They can go to our web page, get our 800 number. They can find us that way. So that's something you need to do, is use your web address or an email address or something as your tagline under your photographs for your photo credit, rather than just saying Cathcart photo or photography. They don't know where you're located. On our web page, we also have photos of Aaron and I. This makes it personalized. If you have a name that, say, your name of your photo company might be here in Colorado, Rocky Mountain Photo Studio, Photography Studio, Rocky Mountain Photography Studio. That's kind of anonymous, and we've seen ads and web pages where under a heading like that, it might be a fella that doesn't even do weddings anymore. He might be a retired photographer and he hires these other people to come in and photograph weddings for him on the weekend. Aaron and I work together, equal partners. We are the photographers. We have our name and our photo on the web page, so people can scroll down and they see, well, there's old Steve and there's old handsome young Aaron. You know? So they know what we look like, and it puts a name on us. So right away, even over the phone, people have already connected with who we are. We let them know on our webpage how many years we've been in business. I've been doing weddings 30 years. Aaron's been 7 years full-time working with me now. So that builds up a rapport, and they know that I started out years ago, and Aaron is in it for 7 years and well established. And we let them pick, which photographer do you want? You know, so some of them may say, and we had one the other day that called Aaron and said, we'd like to have your dad do the photography because he has more experience. We have other people that'll call me and say, we'd like to have Aaron do it. Aaron's in his early 30s, and he's more in their age group, and they believe that he's more up on stuff happening in their age group. So they get to pick which photographer they want. On our web page, we have some photographers that put up a dozen nail size photos. They call them thumbnail, I believe, prints, and you can't blow them up very big and look at them. We don't care. We put on photos, you can click on them, they're going to get bigger, they're going to fill the whole screen. And what we want them to do is see detail. We're not trying to get them into the studio, and we're not scared somebody's going to steal our photographs. A lot of times the photographers will put a thumbnail up there and they'll say, come on in, we'll give you prices and etc. You know, they want to get at you in the photographer's surroundings where he can more or less sometimes high pressure them. Not all photographers do that, but some do, and they get you in there. They figure they can control the conversation and close the sale. And we just let the sale flow, however it comes out. We'll get into that in a bit. We show a large selection of photos. On there now, Aaron's got 350 to 400 different photographs from all the different lodges, and we put them in an order where if you're getting married at a certain church south of town here, there's a nice one, 7 miles. You can click on our web page. You can click on that, and it will show you not all the photos we've done there, but it will have a whole page or several pages from photos from where they're going to get married. And if their reception's over here at the other place, you know, another lodge or someplace, they can click on that and see all our photos that we've done at receptions there in the winter and the summer and the fall and the spring, and at afternoon and evening weddings and mornings and stuff. So this gives them a great selection to look at and say, well, and you're also telling them, hey, we know these places. We've been to all these places in Estes, in the Estes Valley. So they think that you're up on your knowledge, which we are, and that helps sell you on them. Also, on the bottom of every page, up comes all our pages that you can click to. So you can click on all these different pages, and you're not going to the hotels and the lodges website. You're staying on our website, but you're seeing photos from these locations. And we also have another page that's called resource links. And what we've done there, we've set it up so you can click on a certain hotel, lodge, church. Churches have web pages. And you can go to this church's web page, and you can read all about what the church has put up their own web page, and you can read all about the church that way. And then on top of the screen, you can also come back and click, and it brings you back to our web page. So once you cut off ours on a certain church or lodge or reception hall, you don't have to type in cathcartphoto.com again to get back to our page. You can click back to us instantly, and I think that's very important you have that feature. We have a page that the one that's just resources, so you can click to the other folks' resource page, and we tell people that these are people that we've worked with for many, many years. And these people do a fine job. They've never dropped the ball. And we depend on them, and they're going to be there for you, because we don't want to recommend somebody that's going to come late to your wedding. We've had a couple people that have come late to weddings, and we've had a couple vendors, well, one vendor that missed a wedding. So they're not on our resource page, and we tell the bride and groom that. These people that are on there are dependable. They're going to be okay, because we just can't recommend them if they're not going to do a fine job like Aaron and I are going to do. For the people that don't have a web page, like some of the ministers, what we do is we'll put their business card on there. So when you scroll down and you go to officiants, you can come up with a local judge. You can come up with all the ministers that do weddings at different churches and outside and different locations. And I think there's one or two that have a web page, and the rest of them we have listed. Reverend so-and-so, and it gives his work address and his phone number and how to get in touch with him. So we help these people. And in helping them, what we do is we tell the bride and groom, if you're going to talk to our local judge, tell him Aaron and I sent you. And this is so important. If it's a minister, tell him that Steve and Aaron sent you. And you're going to get some preferential treatment from the minister, because we sent you that way and we're good friends with them. And like some of the people here, the judges and the ministers, we've done their family groups, we photographed them at Christmas, we've done their daughters' weddings, we've done engagements for them. So we know them real well. And it also helps if you can tell the bride and groom that we did this reverend's daughter's wedding, because then they know that if we're still friends with the reverend, we did okay. So that's how we get some of our referrals. And then what happens is the ministers, the lodges, the hotels are going to refer people back to you. And that's so good. That's why we're not in the yellow pages. We rely on referrals. We do have a listing in yellow pages. It's under wedding photography. It's a freebie that was put in there by, we have our regular phone book that comes out from the phone book company, the telephone company, and then we have another phone book that comes in that's independent phone book in this area, and I'm sure you have them nationwide. And they called me one day and wanted to know if I wanted to put an ad in. I said, no, we don't advertise in the yellow pages. And actually we're in the phone book under my name, Steve Cathcart, and we use the same phone at home as we do for the business, so we're not paying commercial telephone fee either. What we're looking at now is our home page when you pull it up on the internet. As you can see, our logo is the mountains, and then we have our name in there, Cathcart Photography, Steve and Aaron. And this is the typeset that we use every time we use that. I think it's very important you get some kind of logo that goes with your area. Underneath that, we have international award-winning wedding photographers, because we want to really play that up. Now, we sure have come a long ways, but we haven't won the top awards at the international convention, but we've won ribbons there. So it's an international event, and we've won ribbons, so we've won awards there. And then we put Estes Park, Colorado. And this is the first photo we have on there currently, and it's changed every couple weeks or so. Aaron will put something else up. Then what we do is we get into the pages. As you scroll down, you can see the first thing is Wedding Photographic Album. So they can go click on that and look at photos from our albums. And then we do, the next one down is Senior Photos, and the next one after that is Family Groups and Reunions. And we do a few seniors every year, and we do a few family groups and reunions up in the national park usually. And the whole rest of this is wedding photography then. So we're about 99% wedding photography. As you scroll on down the page, this is what you see next. And these are all pages on our website. So you can go to black and white photography, random acts of kindness, Bear Lake snowshoe wedding. And the next one's very important. Wedding resources link. Aaron has it red there behind it. Hot wedding links. And what that is we're hooked up with almost everyone in Estes Park and the surrounding area that has a web page that we guarantee will do a good job at a wedding. We don't put people on there that have dropped the ball in the last 10 years. These are people that we've worked with and we know them personally, and they're going to do an outstanding job in whatever their service is at the wedding. So we recommend them. So they can click on that, and that brings up like almost 40 other web pages that they can click on. If they're looking for a florist or a minister or tuxedos, they can click on there and go to their website and look their information over. And what's real important is while they're looking at the, say, the Flower Lady's web page, at the top of the computer screen, it says click here to link back to Cathcart Photography. It's on the top left. So if they go to somebody else's page, then they can't get back to ours a lot of time. But we had it fixed so they can click up there and they come right back to our home page. So they can always come back to Cathcart Photography without having to stop and type in our web address again and go through all that. What we also tell these people that we're linked to their sites, we tell them, you know, we'd be glad to link to your website if you would put a link on yours to our website. So if they're going along bride and groom and they find the florist again and they like her flowers and they go scrolling down and then they see our name and they're looking for a photographer, they can click on their website and it puts them on our website. So it works really good. And that way we refer people back and forth verbally and on the website, and it builds a network of people who are out there selling Cathcart Photography because we're selling their flower business also. And yes, we do put more than one person from each, category. Let's use DJs. We have quite a few DJs because the DJs can usually do one wedding a day. So if the DJ's booked up, they can find another DJ on there. So we have, I think, about 6 disc jockeys that we work real close with. So we can, from our page, we can go to theirs, and from theirs back to ours, and it works out real good in the referrals. And they can just scroll on down and pick anything they want to look at. We also have another thing that's very important. Thinking of getting married in Rocky Mountain National Park, you can pull that page up, and it tells you where you can get married in the park because there are restrictions. You have to get a permit. You can print the permit out off our website and mail it to the park or email it to them. And you have to pay a fee to get in there. And it tells you just everything about the national park if you want to get there married there, because it is federal ground, so you do have to have special permits. As we scroll on down, you'll see some more pages here where it says new page, new page, new page. And what we're doing now, and so when we started out, we would mix on a page, we would mix all the different locations together. So now what we're doing, when we photograph at a certain lodge, we go ahead and put all the photos from that lodge on that page. So if the bride and groom are getting married at Antlers Point right here, they can click on that and it stay on our web page, but go to the Antlers Point page and they see the property and all the photos we've taken on that, or not all of them, but a lot of photos we've taken on that property. So they'll know that we're familiar with it. As they scroll on down, they find out that we are a father and son team, and we've been photographing weddings in Estes Park for over 10 years, and we have a total of over 35 years experience. And my dad was a photographer, so I'm second generation, and Aaron is third generation photographer. So this gives them confidence in us. Again, here's our name, Cathcart Photography, the whole thing again, Steve and Aaron, our local phone number, our 800 number, and this is very important. It tells them we take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and of course Discovery. We take all those credit cards, and I think you folks should too. Go to your bank and find out about doing that. And if it costs you a little more to take American Express or Discovery, raise your prices enough to cover it and take those cards. It's very important. On the right, we have our WPPI logo, and that shows that you're in an international association because we talk about that in competition a lot. Then we have a kind of a unique photo that Erin streamlined here and cropped down in on the bottom that shows the bride's ring and her flowers and the sleeve on her gown. And it says, photographs of your wedding, priceless. Photographs of your wedding, priceless. That really hits home with them, because if the wedding's goofed up, it can't ever be done again. And we tell them that we create an unlimited number of images on your wedding day, and we do that. And we tell them that we take film and digital photographs. And then we're back down into the web pages again. We have one web page that's very important here. You can click on it and it takes you to the Naval Observatory. And this is so important. This is a service. When you go to the Naval Observatory, you can punch in the zip code for where you're getting married. And it will tell you this time the sun comes up on your date 6 months from now, and the time the sun goes down 6 months from now. And that works good in Kansas, Nebraska, but in Colorado, if you're down in a canyon or at the base of a mountain, you also have to take that into fact, that sundown might be an hour earlier because your mountain's sticking up there and blocking the sun earlier. So we tell them to check that and then go check the location and see what it says. The sundown is at a certain time, like 6 o'clock on today, and we go out there and where we're going to have our wedding, and we watch it, and the sun really goes down at 5 o'clock. Then when we pull up our time and date, we know that we have to add about an hour to that before the sun really goes down in that location. So the National Observatory thing is very good to have on your website. It's a great service. As we continue here, we have some more lodging places here that they can click on and see images from them and stuff. And it mentions our digital wedding photography, like I mentioned there. It also mentions Southwest Photo Safari, infrared photos in the national park, some lightning photos, and some elk photos. And those are just kind of hobby photos that Erin and I do. And the lightning photos, who would have thought? That booked us a wedding, because the lady pulled it up and she said, if you're good enough to photograph lightning, you're really good at weddings. Well, lightning's not really that hard to do at night. It is in the daytime, but not at night. So we booked a wedding from that. And again, our name and address and everything in the same style. WPPI logo. Erin went out on the deck with a digital camera and took a photograph of my flag that I was flying and cropped it into a panoramic there. And it just adds some color at the end of it. On the left side bottom, online, that's our gentleman that helps us with our web page. That's kind of a logo like you'd find on the trunk of a car when you buy it from a dealer, I guess. And then on the other side it says, this website and all images are copyrighted. And they are copyrighted, and we have model releases. So this is just our home page. Now you can click on all these other pages, and we invite you to get on the internet and look at all our website. You can spend a long time there. We have between 350 and 400 photographs on there that you're more than welcome to get on there and preview and look at. When it comes to prices, we don't put them on our web page. We put all the other information on there, but we want them to get on the phone and call us. Some photographers have their prices on the web page. People pull up the web page and they look at the photos, and you want your photos on the web page to be really brilliant, colorful, and sharp, and show all the different things that you can do in wedding photography, so you can meet their needs. If you have your prices on there, they might look down the price list and say, okay, 6-hour wedding, that's what we think we need for our wedding, the bride and groom say to each other. But golly, he's way too high. So they just click off and go to another photographer's web page. Pardon me. What we do is we have them call us for the prices. We're proud of our prices, but we want to talk to them. So we get them on the phone when they call, and that's where we can do some more bonding. When they're on your website, we've had them stay on our website 2 hours looking at photos. They tell us this. Not everybody, but a lot of them for 2 hours. They have bonded with you. When we get them on the phone, we answer it cheerful. Hello! You know, we've got a happy face that I drew in front of the price list, and we'll show you that, and it says, be happy. These people want to give you money. So when we go through our price list, that's the first page that comes up. It's a full page. So we remember to be happy about what we're doing. But when we answer the phone, we're also happy. And that's where we tell them about, you know, Susie at this lodge and Amy at the lodge behind us, and we bond with them. We tell them about the different locations that we shoot, and then we get into the price list. And our price list is really simple, and it has exactly like I said before, what they're going to get right down to the 25 cents with no added costs or anything. And we're going to go ahead and get into our prices at a later time here, so I'll kind of slide out of that. But it helps to give the prices over the telephone, because again, then you're bonding with them. You can get their phone number. Sometimes if they email you, they don't give you the phone number, the town they're in, or anything. You know, they just give you an email address. So we like to talk to them personally and be upbeat about their wedding and happy. If I was back on the Kansas-Nebraska border in that small town that was 8,000 people, the whole county was only 12,000. We were the biggest town around for like 100 miles, so it was real sparse. I would still have a web page, because that way people at home in the evening, if they're in your hometown and they're 8 blocks from you, they can still, in the comfort of their house in the evening, pull up your web page and look at it. And in a small town, they're going to say, well, there's Mary Jane, and the neighbor girl. We didn't get to go to her wedding, but they can see photos of her. And they can call and ask her how'd the wedding go and all this. So I think you need a web page no matter what size town you live in. They can look at it, and then they'll call you, and then they'll come in and make an appointment. So it's important to have a web page even in the littlest town, so you can bring people in. You can also get people. When we were back there, our area that we worked in was a 30-mile radius around town in all directions. And out here it's more, because we have bigger population and they want to come to the mountains a little more. But back there, if I would have had a web page, I could have been doing weddings that were 100 miles away when I didn't have anything local, and I still could have been using the same price list with no mileage, but they wouldn't have known that. On the pricing, a lot of photographers will have a price list again that'll be in packages, and I won't dwell on this, but I keep coming back to it. We have a 15-minute wedding package. We do 1 or 2 of those a year, and it's just kind of a low-end thing that sometimes in the winter that we can do close and quick and make some money on. Most of our weddings start at an hour and go up to 6 or 8 hours. That's about the most, but we have our price list clear up to 12 hours. We'll get into that in a moment. A lot of the photographers have a minimum. That's why we have our 15, our 30-minute, and our 1-hour coverage, and then we start into the hour coverages, 2 hour, 3, 4. Some photographers, we know one in an area here close by down in Boulder, and they start at $5,000 is their base package for wedding photography. We have other friends that they won't go do a wedding for less than $2,000. And this is a market I was missing on the Kansas-Nebraska border that we picked up on to set ourselves apart up here. We have the smaller packages. And the deal is, if somebody doesn't have, if they've got $1,200 or $1,500 for wedding photography and you're sitting there with a $2,000 minimum and they love you, they might not be able to come up with the other $500. So what we do is we have the smaller packages we can sell them. So maybe what we'll do on a day when, if we had a $2,000 minimum and we miss that $1,500 wedding, we may do a $1,500 wedding. We may do another one for $1,000 and another one for $500. So I think you need to go after these smaller packages, these weddings that most of the photographers aren't going after. That's going to get you accelerated in wedding photography. You're going to be able to show people some new photos and put them in your album quicker. So what we try to do, and this is what I think most photographers starting out and after they're in the wedding photography business need to do, go after these small weddings that the big boys are overlooking. There's a whole market out there of people that are getting married and they can't afford a photographer, but they may be able to afford one for 30 minutes or an hour or 2 hours. So have low minimums so you can do a lot of these. There's a lot of them out there, so you can do more than one of those a day. And that's what we want to do. When price is really important to people, and we can figure that out by their body language a lot of times. I've read a couple books on body language, like the universal one. This means I'm protected or guarded against you. You know, and when we're talking to people, we can sense it on the phone when we talk to people and we tell them our prices and they don't say anything afterwards. We kind of know that, you know, maybe that's too high. So that gives us an idea where we're at. But when we see them in person, we can watch their body language. And if it looks like the price is bothering them, when we get to that, what we do is we tell them about the value. Because when Aaron and I photograph a wedding, what we do, and you'll see this in our price list, we're going to come in for so much an hour and photograph their wedding. If we're shooting film, we're going to send the film to the lab and get 4x5 reprints made, or 4x6s. They're going to get every photograph that we shoot, plus they're going to get the matching negatives. This is a big deal to people, to get those matching negatives, so they can do their own reprints, and we give them written copyright release. They don't have to come back through Aaron and I and buy 8x10 photograph for a lot of money. They can go ahead and print them at the local print shop. And when we shoot CDs, or when we shoot digital cameras, what we do is we give them a CD, and with written copyright release. This totally sets us apart from the other photographers. We can do this and miss the money on reprints. And I'll tell you why we like to miss the money on reprints, is because these small weddings, there's a lot of them. So we can go back and get these small weddings, and we can be out taking photographs, and we tell the bride and groom that. We'd rather be out at a wedding than sitting in the office doing reprints. And again, we'll get into that. But that's what sets us apart, is giving written copyright release. A lot of photographers at a wedding will say, oh, don't take any photos that I'm posing because your flash is going to goof up my picture. And we know that's not true. We've seen the president get photographed, and all these photographers and flashers are going, it doesn't goof up the photos. What the photographer's doing is getting an exclusive photograph of you and your husband, or the bride and groom, or the family group, and that way he has the right to sell these photos to you. So when you come back from your honeymoon, you're going to buy another 200 or 300 or 400. Mom and dad are going to buy some photos from you, 300 or 400. Grandma and everybody that wants photos has to come back through the photographer. And this sets us apart, and this books us a lot of weddings where we just say everybody can come and take all the photos they want over our shoulder. So we eliminated the negative of saying don't take any photos that I pose. And it sets us apart because we're going to give you the photos, the negatives, or the CD, and you can do whatever you want to with them. And that totally sets us apart, and that sells us a lot of weddings. And that frees us up to go out and do more weddings. Like we mentioned, when we talk to people, we don't high pressure them. We ask them after they've seen our photographs and seen our price list over the phone, or when we're working over the phone, they're working on the web page, or they're in the house in a front room. That's what we use to show our albums. Do you have any questions about the photographs? If they do, we answer them. And then, do you have any questions about the price list? If they do, we answer them. And sometimes they'll say, well, we have to go ahead and talk it over, and we'll get back to you. Or we're going to go see another photographer. We have an appointment with him. Or they'll book you over the phone. They'll book you on the spot. And we take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discovery. Some big corporations don't even take all of those. But we build it into our price list where when we photograph them, that's absorbed. The credit card fees are absorbed in the price. We want to be user friendly. If they have a Discovery card and we don't take it, you may not get the wedding. So we build that right in there. After we've answered their questions about the price list and the photography, we ask them, how do you want to proceed from here? It's up to you. And a lot of them will say, well, pencil us in. And then we explain to them that, you know, we'd love to do that, but we've done it in the past and run into problems. And what happens if we pencil you in and we have somebody come in the next 2 days and they want to book us for your time and your date on your wedding, and they're ready to book us? We can't book them because we penciled you in. So we try to call you, might be on a weekend, and you're off vacationing. We can't get a hold of you. So those people get mad at us. And then you may go, the bride and groom may decide to go with another photographer actually, and you lose 2 weddings right there by penciling them in. So you want to do like the major corporations and have a sale that, not a sale, but a deadline on it. And our deadline, an urgency is what I'm trying to say. And our urgency is we work on a first come, first served basis. So what we need to do is get a check from you or get a credit card, and we'll draw up a contract and you'll be booked in. And you want to let them know that when we get this credit card, we're going to run it. Our deposit is 1/2 of what our price is per hour. So we get a hefty deposit down. And then they're locked in. Aaron draws up a written contract, mails it through them through the mail, or if I'm meeting with them, we go ahead and we'll fill it out right there at the house.